All right, how's it going, guys? It's Monday, so that means it's time for Modern Men Monday. So hopefully everyone is having a good Monday, having a great time to be ready for Christmas, got all the presents wrapped. I know I haven't wrapped squat, but nonetheless, that's probably my project after the show. But nonetheless, let's get into our illustrious panel here. I'm CWood. Next to me is the guy with perfect attendance on this show, ComicManAndy. How you doing? How's the beard?
Check it.
Oh yeah,
check it.
yeah.
Let's check it. Oh
my God! It's the Christmas miracle. It sticks.
Very nice.
We are good to go.
Good stuff.
For the next hour, we'll just watch Andy combing his beard now.
There you go.
All right, next up, he just had an awesome stream with the Boy Who Had Seven, where they
that was fun.
Very nice AOK. One of my favorite books of all time, G.I. Joe 21, the silent issue.
I had no idea about it until I looked it up. After this whole thing, wow, nice book.
Oh yeah,
nice book.
We may just have to throw that on the randomizer one day. We don't have to read the dang thing. It's a silent issue. But we got JB from Discovery Bay. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to tonight because, man, this story is good. And our subject is even better. So, it's going to be good.
Yeah, so tonight we're going to be covering our top 5 favorite 2000s artists. My personal favorite comic book reading time for me was the 2000s. So I've got my top 5 and then 10, 12, 15 honorable mentions. And I know these guys, they got their list ready to go. So put together your guys' list. I'd like to see them in the chat as we go. Also tonight, coming up here in a second, we'll be reviewing Saga Trade number 2 because that won the randomizer of the week. So I also want the chat to come up with some reads at the end of the show that we need to read next week. I've already started typing stuff in the randomizer, but you know me, I love me some DC. I'm going to force that DC down these throats at some point. No, DC.
DC.
Random.org hates DC comics. You have to get your wheel out and just write nothing but DC on there. Marvel, spin it, and Marvel will probably win, but eventually we'll get one DC. So,
we're gonna shoot for the Christmas miracle and see a Saga Volume 3 lands.
Yeah, hey, I already put it on the randomizer, so we're good there at least. But before we get started, we'll get into this chat here. Oh, I'm afraid we've got some bad news in the chat. It's Chris Barrett. How's it going, man? We got 1-2 Comic Talk saying happy holidays. Right back at you, man. We got Patrick Melaragno, I hope I pronounced that right. I probably didn't because I've been working since 4 a.m. this morning. He says, Michael Turner and Jim Lee. Don't care who else is on that list. Yeah, spoilers. Next up,
Turner when I was a kid.
We got Craig69 with that smiley face. How's it going? We got Mark Knapp 68. He says, hope all's well, everyone's doing good. We got Bob Roll in the chat, who is responsible for that beautiful intro we had to this video. And he's making intros almost daily now for the Comic Core. So definitely stub up Bob Roll. Go out of your way. Check out his channel. See what he's about. Because he's been a phenomenal contributor to the Comic Core. Even though you haven't seen him on screen, he's doing a lot of great stuff for us. So definitely a huge thank you to Bob World. And without further ado, I want to read Chris Barrett's chat here. He says, I'll give Carson a Christmas miracle. I'm going to recommend a DC book right here, Injustice. All right, so there we go.
On the list.
Remind me, time we will do Injustice on that randomizer.
I think the other Christmas miracle was you actually pronounced Patrick's name right.
Oh, yeah, sweet. I took a swing and I hit a home run. And Pope C is in the chat. Pope Cerebus, he says, do you place Black Label at the top or regular DC titles first?
Ooh, Black Label for me.
Honestly, I tangent here for a second. I do have to address it.
Yes.
I love me some Black Label books. I really do at the end of the day. They have some of the best creators, and the writers are drawn to the Black Label because it seems like they get a little bit more freedom. However, the pricing makes me really mad to the point where I don't even want to buy the Black Label. I'm not paying $8 for a book. I'm sorry.
I know, $8, man.
I'll wait for a hardcover or get it on in stock trades when it's 50% off. So it by default goes to the bottom of the pile or off of the pile. So there's your answer, Pope C. Hope that helps. Yeah. All right. So we're going to talk about some Saga Part 2. Based on your guys' reaction last week, I'm guessing you guys kind of enjoyed the first trade. So, JB, we'll go ahead and start with you. Yeah. What are your initial impressions on Saga Volume 2?
Still going strong for me. Again, opened it from front to back, and read this straight through.
You've got
had some fantastic moments that I had to just kind of mark in here. The way that he's weaving this story. I mean, the last one ends with, the grandparent showing up, and the narration through the voice of the child is fabulous. The way that he's telling this story, or they are telling the story, especially with the art. And the artwork, man, you have to admit, is just consistent all the way through, and it's good. Yeah. You get to a big splash page, and I know you're going to show a couple of them. It's good stuff. This is an adult book, folks. Man, is this an adult book. And I'll tell you, for me, this is almost it's kind of like a therapy in a way, that reading real big time adult content for getting away from some of the stuff that is supposed to be kids. Even though I don't think there's much of the stuff that we're reading right now that the kids could read. None of the storylines that would make any sense to them. But this, when you start to put in the cursing and the graphic nudity and the sex and this is definitely an adult book, and I'm enjoying the hell out of it. For sure.
Nice. What about you, Andy? I know you're a huge Saga fan. We see that line of 9.8s behind you. What'd you think of Volume 2?
I just think this was masterfully written and drawn. What I really liked about this is they very carefully pull you back in time in a couple of points through the book to help build characters, build a story, and help drive that a little bit forward. But it's not so much that you're bouncing back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and it adds confusion. It's masterfully done to do those where they pull you back and build it. Three, maybe 4 times they do it. It's very it's subtle at first. Then they're a little bit more heavy-handed with it, but it's done so well that it builds to the story, makes the story that much more rich without adding confusion. And this was just, they lose the babysitter, then they got to go find the babysitter, hunt her down, and they meet this disgustingly epic giant. You guys, the first page I flopped over, talking about how amazing the artwork was that one page with that disgusting giant. And the character development is just astonishing. It's done so well.
What was your favorite scene of the book? If you had to pick a single scene or point of reference.
If I had to pick like my favorite couple of pages or
your favorite couple of pages.
It's got to be where Marco looks back at his first memories with his father.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I went with this scene, this interaction between the grandfather. Here. This scene right here got me because, he comes at her, the ship kind of wraps him up in these weeds, and he's like, "Are you going to let me down?" And these people have spells, so he goes, "Well, I can just say a spell." And she's like, "No, you can't say a spell because I don't have any more secrets, and I don't keep secrets." And he whispers, which means this is something he hasn't told anybody. For the only way for the spell to work is for it to be a secret that he hasn't told anybody. And he looks up and he says, "I have less than a month to live." Mm-hmm. And then he comes down and she's surprised, and boom, he puts her to sleep. And as she falls asleep, he grabs his grandchild for the very first time and looks in her eyes. And remember, this is a crossbreed. This is something that these families don't want. And he says, "Beautiful goddamn name."
Yeah.
I mean, that is just, those couple of pages there just gave me chills the way it was written. To think that this husband, father, has been keeping this secret from both his wife and his child and everybody. Mm-hmm. But he had it in his pocket when he needed this spell. And then how that develops on that, the fact that he's dying. I was wonderful.
Yeah, I think my favorite scene, I'll just go ahead and show my panel of the week here. It's definitely a splash panel here. The whole part of the book starts off, they're on this planet talking to Fard, this giant grotesque monster who has he's not endowed the greatest, but boy, does he have big balls, let's just say. I'm not going to show that panel because
don't show that panel.
We would probably get taken off of YouTube if I showed that one. But nonetheless, the Fard reveals to them, this isn't a planet, it's an egg. So when the egg hatches, this is what you get. And before, our heroes here can meet the other ship that's around this disaster, with the Will and Lion Cat and Gwendolyn and that whole group on there. You kind of go into this big action scene where this like time suck baby, whatever you want to call it, space baby thing, fires out black goo, and it actually takes the Will's ship out. And meanwhile, the narrator is talking about, expendable losses and stuff. And then that's when it cuts the Lion Cat out in space. And the first time I read that, I'm just like, no, not Lion Cat, for the love of God, anyone but Lion Cat in that group. Take anyone out in space, but save Lion Cat. And then that's when you see to be continued. So I could have only imagined reading that issue and being like, oh my God, I gotta wait another month. Right, yep, there it is. Let me. You're like,
no. Yeah.
And then the next issue, the Will has these heroics where he just jumps out into space, catches Lion Cat, and uses his jousting spear, whatever you want to call it, to get him back to the ship. So I thought that was a really cool action sequence, kind of out of nowhere. But yeah, I was just like, anyone but Lion Cat.
Oh, yeah, he called it a lance.
Yes, a lance, that's it. Yeah, earlier you get to see him actually use the lance to save the little girl from Sextillion. Because they're just like, what is that? That's like the dumbest looking weapon ever. He ends up just killing most of them with the lance. Yeah. And then Lion Cat, I almost made that on my other panel of the week. Lion Cat, like, just chowing down on one of these dudes. Just eat.
Oh, yeah. And they did
a really good job with a question for you guys. You know, when he does the flashback scene to his childhood with his father, it's told in a different language.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But isn't it weird that you kind of understand it? I mean, you don't really understand what he's saying.
It's relatable.
But it's like it's a conversation between his son and his father, and it's like he's on his butt. He's telling him, don't give up, and you don't know what he's saying because it's in a completely different language.
What he's delivering there is that life experiences transcend language.
Correct.
That's what he's delivering there. You don't have to know the language and be able to read it to understand and connect with what's happening there. This is why this story is so amazing.
Yeah, when you get in my head while I was reading this, everything is so theatrical. Like, especially right here, that scene where his father is lying with no pulse in their ship, and then they cut to this scene out of nowhere. And I can just imagine, like, if this was a movie, there'd just be no music playing. You kind of just see their smiles and interactions, and it just cuts back dead to Marco. It's just dead silence.
Yep, and
them reacting to his father on the ground.
The end of that panel, she says, the narrator, she says that she has kept a piece of the original garment that he made her, and she still uses it to this day as a bookmark. Henceforth, what you talked about last week about her being older, her being much older, because I was actually looking at it as I was reading this volume. When her writing, as she's narrating in the book to me, felt like her writing was that of a younger individual. But now that you mention it, it could be an old arthritic hand too.
Ooh. Yeah, you really don't know. I mean, it's a saga. Like I would like to think a saga is like this person's Hazel's entire life. So depending on how long she's allowed to live, basically. But I swear there's this one line where she kind of talks about, like, it's thanks to this man Marco that I got to grow old, and I'm just like, I wonder how old she actually got to grow. So.
Yeah. Now, and then the final little chapter there is, this robot who is just a freaky kind of dude, right? He's just a freaky. I mean, he literally steps off this thing, gets sniped by this animal, and he's having these visions. He's got to get his mission done, and he's basically tracked what he thinks where they're going to go, right? He goes, this is where they're going to go, and he ends up talking to the writer of this book, and this is. I'm sorry. It was tense to me. It was because I know why he's there, and from the moment he opens this door, and you get this back and forth banter between this writer who is clearly written something that is anti-war, anti-everything, but is totally trying to play it off like, oh no, dude, I was just trying to make some money. I don't know what you're talking about. I just threw that shit together, man. I don't know. Yeah. And then, he's about to walk out the door. He's literally got his hand on the door when he makes the comment about his son. Your son's dead. What battle did he die in? And he says, I didn't say he died in a battle. And then it changes. All of a sudden, he doesn't go out the door. He now shuts the door, and it's go on. And this now it's starting to get, and he steps back, right? And he's sliding the drawer open, going for the gun, and this is getting intense. And so, needless to say, blows the dude's kneecap off, and he says, "I think they're coming." And that final scene, what a freaking cliffhanger! Yes, I have to go get the next volume, whether it comes up or not.
Yep.
Because as he says, or the narrative says, Prince Robot was almost right, but he was dead wrong about my family coming to Quietus anytime soon. We'd already been there a week.
Yep.
They were upstairs the whole time this conversation was going on. And if you look, he's got his hand over the baby's mouth, and they're up in the attic, and it just sent chills down my spine when I got to the last page. I'm like...
And did you notice all the battle damage on Marco's mother there?
Mm-hmm.
She's got a cracked horn. She's bandaged up. Yeah, she's looking pretty rough. But yeah, I mean, I showed this panel earlier. So I don't know, it's just this cute little, like, almost like Disney style character, and this character like introduces you to some of the heartbreak you're gonna be introduced to in this series. It's like this, like, nice.
He only lasts 3 panels. How many panels does he last?
3 pages at that. Actually, even 2. But this cute little war medic who's saving Prince Robot the Fourth's life, and then they get attacked with gas, and he's like, "They said there was no treaty when there's no gas." That happens. It just gets blown up from the inside, and unfortunately, Brian K. Vaughan. This is just an example of, if you keep reading, he's just going to rip your heart out, and he's going to step all over it. He'll make you laugh. He'll make you really enjoy the comic. He'll make you get into the characters. But there are times where he introduces characters like this, and you're like, this could be a cool character. And then, oh boy, you don't want to get to know that character. So I'm just saying that now. But in terms of character progression throughout the series, like Prince Robot the Fourth, I think, has one of the coolest arcs in terms of what you see now, where it's like he almost has that Hans Landis style vibe from Inglourious Bastards at the end of this trade to what you see. I don't want to spoil too much, if anything at all, right now, what you see from him later down the line. I'll just say he's one of my favorite characters. And
the Wills arc is a great contender. That, like, those are wow, yeah.
And to think that she's not dead. That spider thing, whatever, that the Will was in love with. That was
a dream.
That was a dream, or a premonition. Yeah.
Man, I got to go back and read it again. Are you telling me? I thought that was real.
I read it twice today. I put it down, and then like an hour later, I was like, I got to do that.
You're right. No, you're right. Yeah, you're right. He woke up. Yep, because it was she hissed at him. You're right. And then he was and it was the cat. You're right.
The lion cat woke him up from that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So, any final thoughts on part 2 of Saga?
Great, man. I'm so happy I'm on this show getting a chance to read these unbelievable books, man. This is just I think this is what comics is all about, especially for adults. This is what is this game changer comics for adults right here. This is like, wow. I'm shocked that they haven't turned this into some sort of movie or something. And when they do, I'll be there watching it.
Yeah, and to capitalize on the adult aspect of things, I'm not going to show the panel, but this is by far, they bring it around. This is by far my favorite quote in this. Just to be clear, your exact words were to be, quote unquote, "Please shoot it in my TV." I'll let you guys spell out this or read the book. Like, it delivers.
It definitely delivered. Yeah, and just to keep you guys abreast of what's going on in JV's reading, I know it wasn't on the list, but yeah, I went out and read Black Hammer 3.
Oh, nice. I'm definitely going to read part 2 at some point. I need to read that one too.
Just got to the end. I knew there was something up, and then you're like, I knew it. Good stuff.
That's cool. Andy, any more final thoughts?
Amazing. I'm going to read it again tonight after the show, actually. And then I'm going to get number 3 out, and I'm going to start reading that because, you can't put it down.
I've read it cover to cover twice now, each time.
It's incredibly addicting story. And then the minute you're like, I might put it down and go to bed for the night, he delivers. They deliver something on the next page where you just forget about going to bed.
No, it's definitely one of those books. Like I said it last week, I'll say it again this week. Like if there's a new reader in your life, or you yourself are a new reader looking to just get into a book, like there's probably no better book out there than Saga right now. It's so easily accessible. Rather, like your comic shops most likely have the first trade right on their wall as soon as you walk in the door. Comixology Unlimited had it to read for free with their service, basically, the first 3 trades. So I definitely can't recommend this book enough. I guess, once again, 9.8. Andy?
This one I'll get just the volume 2, I'll give it a 9.8.
Okay. JB?
Absolutely 9.8. It was fantastic. Right. It was great.
Excellent. All right. So if you guys like our review of that, definitely start thinking about those books toward the end of the show you want us to put on a randomizer. Of course, Saga Volume 3 is already on the randomizer, so we don't need to worry about adding that. It's already going to be on there. We'll see if this turns into the Saga show or something new will win. But start thinking now. Like I said, I want some DC for these guys, but if not, that's fine too. But we'll get into the chat here, and then we're going to break down our top 5 artists of the 2000s. We got the immortal Biggie Shack. He's clanging, he's banging, he's in the chat. He says he's getting toe up or he's getting ready for his Christmas break. He really wants us to read a Death of Superman. We're going to put the Death of Superman on the randomizer tonight.
Look at JB over here.
Oh, yeah, I'm strapped up, man. What are you talking about? NWO for life, baby.
Oh, yeah. Black and white, man. All right, that's the only one I'm adding right this second because I really wanted to make sure I got that.
Everybody, please say a prayer for the immortal Biggie Shack for some quick beard growth. I heard he shaved his off as well.
Yeah, I got to find that video. I saw, I'm like, where'd the beard go? And someone's like, yeah, he shaved it for charity too. So that's cool.
You inspired him.
Guy growing his beard back.
You inspired him.
We've got John's Comics with Kids, who it's like he never even lost his beard. November, he had just a mustache. December, he looks back to normal.
Like that.
So King John Free has some secrets there, man. We also got, I'm almost out of water, but I'll give him one. We got Bake the Snake. He's in that chat. We got the Great Legend Show in the chat. He's making me laugh in the chat. He's watching me smile. He loves it. So thanks for joining us, Great Legend. And I can't not mention Great Legend without mentioning my other brother from the Comic Core Brotherhood. We got Chad R. What's going on, Chad? How you doing tonight? We also have JLS Comics. He knows a thing or two about G.I. Joe, JB. You should definitely check out his G.I. Joe videos. We also got He's Gone Too Soon. Comics Miss Explains in the chat. How's it going?
Hey.
One of the best for sure.
Long time.
Legend. All right. Hopefully I didn't miss any more. So here's how we're going to do it. We're each kind of just going to count it down. So,
Perry?
Huh? Oh, Perry's combo.
Perry. What?
Oh,
okay.
I'm sorry.
Working in here, but we got Perry's Comics in the chat, and we just had Ben Compton just joined us. How's it going, Ben Compton? Woo! All right, so we're gonna break it down one by one. We're gonna go Andy's number 5, JB's number 5, my 5, then 4 with each person, so on and so forth. So Andy, I'll put your 5 up on the screen. I'll let you talk about him here. You got Charles Adler.
Yep. So he is the Walking Dead story. Now, I don't know about a lot of other people, but when he took over, I had to grow into it. I was kind of hurt at first, but when you look back and look at that transition, you look at the art as it is now, it's gritty, it's dark, and it delivers Walking Dead from 2000, from back then, yeah.
Yeah, so for me, Andy, I think that's a great pick. He was one of my honorable mentions, basically, but I don't want to spoil your number 4 yet. But this number 5, when I read Walking Dead, I know he wasn't the original artist, but when I think of those characters, I think of the way Charles Adler drew them every single time. I feel like his grittiness he put in that book, and just the raw pencils and ink compared to some of the more animated cartoony style. I don't want to call it completely cartoony.
Well, what he delivered and conveyed in the comic books was the zombies decaying.
Yes,
like literally decaying.
Yes, absolutely.
which didn't really transition very well in the show until they actually made a serious effort to do it.
Sure.
But in the comic book, he delivered it. Like it was dark and nasty and dirty, and you felt grimy reading it.
Absolutely, and especially once you get to that governor arc, like Charlie Adler's art shines big time.
I've never read Walking Dead, so I can't tell you.
It just made the list.
It just made the list. Yeah.
Chris Jericho for you guys right there. All right, JB, we'll go to your number 5. You want to talk about him? We got Joe Quesada.
There you go. It looks like Chris Barrett and I are simpatico on that one. And when you mentioned, we were talking about Wolverine Origins.
Mm-hmm.
That run, that's got that boom. Top 5 for me. Joe, taking it.
Yeah, Joe Quesada, man. Like when we were talking about Origin before the show a little bit when we were talking about Joe Quesada, and I just remember when that awful Wolverine Origins movie came out. It was like that whole race to like who can get Wolverine's origin out first. You had the Hugh Jackman disaster movie. This is his worst movie. His worst performance is Wolverine. But luckily Marvel's like, no, we're going to do it first real quick. Paul Jenkins, go write it. And then luckily Joe Quesada owned up and just went ahead and drew the thing. And it was a very beautiful book. And he had some great covers in the 2000s too. Like I remember some of his Spider-Man work. And I know it leaves a bad taste in some people's mouth, but it still is a beautiful book at the end of the day. Brand New Day. When they transitioned from J. Michael Straczynski, destroyed the marriage of Mary Jane and then brought in Dan Slott. So that was another cool thing that Quesada got to do. And then anybody else got anything to say about Joe Quesada? All righty, we'll go into my number 5. Mark Bagley. So I really wanted to put him in my 90s list, but I'm like, I'm going to save him for my 2000s. And it's because he wrote one of the books that got me back into comics, and that was Ultimate Spider-Man. And this guy, I mean, he's an absolute workhorse. He'll, like, when a lot of these artists nowadays have trouble drawing one book a month, if that, Bagley will draw you a book every 2 weeks, and it'll still look good somehow. Like, it's almost unheard of in today's comic medium, where you have an artist like Mark Bagley who can keep up the pacing of, you know, getting you 3 books every 2 months, or, you know, letting him catch up just a little bit, and then he'll give you a book every 2 weeks. Because I know he did Ultimate Spider-Man issues 1 through 108 with Brian Michael Bendis, and pretty much all of the 2000s, and then he eventually transitioned into that DC Trinity book, which I really do want to read one day. But the crazy thing about that book is he actually drew a book every week. It was all him, every bit of that book. 52 issues, 52 weeks. Mark Bagley did the art. So with that, I have to respect Mark Bagley. I absolutely love his Spider-Man style. Probably what I pick, it's kind of like Dan Jurgens and Superman for me. When I close my eyes and picture Superman, it's the Dan Jurgens Superman. For me, Spider-Man, it's Mark Bagley. All right, so we'll go to Andy's number 4. You kind of can see this one coming based on what we just talked about previously. Tony Moore.
Tony Moore laid that foundation. I can't like disagree, or I can't, you know, let that slide. He laid the foundation, and Charles built off of that. So Tony Moore was there just a hair above. That first run of Walking Dead, I still love. Still enjoy it time and time again. But yeah, that's why he got 4. It shares a really big place in my heart for the beginning of the saga, and then Charles just built off of it and ran with it and just made it that dark and grittiness. Like, it was the progression of the world that they were in was actually timed really well with that transition with those two.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we were pointing out earlier, like I think he drew some phenomenal zombies. Like he has it's definitely his own style. Mm-hmm. And actually, you know, one thing I just thought of, I can't believe we didn't kind of we're just not talking about Tony Moore. The Agent Venom stuff he did with Rick Remender as well was phenomenal. I'm not a big Venom guy, but that run he had with Rick Remender on that was awesome. If you guys haven't had a chance to check that out, the Agent Venom stuff's great. And then another book I really want to read with both those guys on there is Fear Agent. I've heard nothing but great things about Fear Agent.
I'm gonna write that down.
All right. So actually, before we keep going here, I want to get into the chat because there's a guy I haven't seen for a minute now in the chat. We got Joe Ryan Comics.
Joe Ryan Comics.
How's it going, Joe Ryan? Hope everything is well. And then, hey, we may as well keep shutting out people because people keep hopping in here. I just drank my water. I drank it down, man, because I saw him.
Drink it in.
DMF Comics. YouTube is 90. Drink it in, man. I probably need to reach for a little bit of the bubbly line, but I need a little bit of the bubbly. So there you go. And then we missed Chaos and Comics earlier. How's it going, Chaos and Comics? Glad
Chris Sarda.
Yeah, man. And then John's Comics with Kids, he made a list in the chat here. He says, favorite 2000s artists will include Ethan Van Sciver, Mike Turner, Eduardo Rizzo, Mark Buckingham, and David Finch. Most of those people are coming up. So spoilers, I suppose.
Spoilers.
So I think I got, and Chad's still in the chat. Biggie Shack still in that chat. All right, so we're on to JB's number 4, Mike Deodato.
There you go. I can't remember what exactly did I choose him for. What there was some
good Spider-Man stuff.
Spider-Man, definitely. It's got to just be Spider-Man because I think my next one is Spider-Man too, isn't it? So whoever draws Spider-Man, I'm gonna pick.
Yeah,
there you go.
Mike Deodato. I actually got a chance to meet Mike Deodato in the 2000s. Actually, it was at a Wizard World. He was sponsored by like some random art college, so it wasn't even in the Artist Alley. So no one knew where he was at. So I probably like if you guys have heard me verbatim talk about my sketchbook, which I'm like a broken record on that thing. I know, but I have this Wonder Woman sketch from Mike Deodato in that book, and it's because no one could find him at this convention. I just stumbled up to him like, oh my God, it's Mike Deodato. So he's like, are you doing sketches? I'm sure you're booked up. He's like, no, I'm bored.
I'm bored.
You want to draw something for me? I was like, please, I'd love to. So he drew this nice Wonder Woman for me because he also worked on Wonder Woman in the 90s and stuff. And like I said, he had some great stuff in the 2000s, Spider-Man as well. So I absolutely love Mike Deodato. He's great.
Solid choice.
And then let's see what my number 4 was. Here's my number 4. We got Ed McGuinness at number 4 for me. I love me some Ed McGuinness. When I first started getting back, I need to go reread a lot of these, but he did some great stuff with Superman, him and Jeff Loeb.
Superman.
Yeah, so I thought it looked a bit cartoony at first, but I really got used to his style and really enjoyed it. He made his style his own, so I really respected that. So he had a great run of books on Superman, but one of the other runs that got me back, and I talked about Ultimate Spider-Man, but I also want to talk about Superman Batman as a run. Once again, it's him and Jeff Loeb. They did this whole run of it was called Public Enemies. It was a cool story where Batman and Superman, they kind of get brought together because it was pre-Infinite Crisis. They don't know who killed the Waynes at this point. So somehow Batman thinks that Metallo ended up having something to do with the death of his parents. So he's investigating Metallo. And of course that brings in Superman because that's a Superman villain. And that's where the whole story starts. And it ends up being this like kind of conspiracy concocted by Lex Luthor to set everyone against him. Because at the same time, Lex Luthor is now president of the DC universe in their United States. So there's a lot of cool, crazy things going on in that story that I absolutely love. So Ed McGuinness, that's my favorite Ed McGuinness story.
Put it in the randomizer.
Oh yeah, okay, good call. We'll put Superman Public Enemies in that randomizer, right?
And more DC. There you go.
Yeah, I got no DC because I hadn't read that.
I'm actually kind of hoping for a DC win this week because I'm not very well versed on DC, and that'll help me.
They actually made an animated movie on Public Enemies too.
Nice.
So I definitely love me some Ed McGuinness. So all right, so we're going to Andy's number 3, which actually someone just put in the chat that we need to read something from this guy, Frank Quietly.
There you go.
So I'm actually turned on to Frank via Carson when he told me I should probably start reading the new X-Men run.
Oh,
that Grant Morrison run. And the more I dug into it, the more I started pulling the covers and started going through the books, I really started falling in love with the art. I need to build that entire run. Thanks, Carson. I'm a completionist collector, and you just added a whole nother run.
Yeah.
So
it is working.
Oh God, but it's good. I really enjoy his work. I really do. I think it's fresh. I think it's like And you know what the funny thing is some of his art, it's almost like if you take another camera from a different perspective on a movie and deliver art just from another perspective. You know what I mean? Does that make any sense? Like everybody's doing one thing, and I kind of feel like some of his art is from another vantage point. You know what I mean? Like he has the same canvas as everybody else, but I feel like sometimes that his vantage point and different angles that he does delivers something that's very captivating, in my opinion.
Yeah, especially he's one of the favorite artists of Grant Morrison. They work together quite a bit. So when you combine that guy's insanity with his creativity, you get some very unique comic books, to say the least. But yeah, I love me some Frank Quitely, man. We talked about the new X-Men run they had together. But my favorite one's still All-Star Superman. I think it's the best Superman story ever put together. For 12 issues. You don't get much better than that. It's also Grant Morrison writing that as well. But yeah, between New X-Men and All-Star Superman, Frank Quitely definitely belongs on any 2000s list for sure. JB, you read any Frank Quitely?
I'm not a big DC guy, but yeah.
Hey, he did. Read some New X-Men, man. You'll love it. All right, so we're going to JB's number 3. We got David Finch on the list.
Come on, that's a solid pick.
Yeah, that is solid.
That's Batman, right? That's
Yeah, he did some Batman. I think it was around 08, 09. He worked on, I think, around issue 700.
All right, there you go. That's solid. So, it was funny that I was looking in the chat and Chris had mentioned, and we all had it on our list. J. Scott Campbell was on my list, but I couldn't think of anything in the 2000s really that he did.
There was a book that just.
Can someone tell me what J. Scott Campbell did in the 2000s? Because I originally had him in my list. Finch, Moon Knight, New Avengers. That's where it was. That Moon Knight we said.
Yeah. Well, Finch also did some penciling on Darkness in the early 2000s too.
Yes, he did.
The Avengers. He did some Marvel work in the 2000s. So Finch's name is out there. Moon Knight. Thank you. So I was trying to Moon Knight 2006, 2007. Finch did some new Moon Knight work.
I just remember for me, Finch, the big books he did was this one, Avengers 500, First Avenger. Actually, it's the second Avengers book I
was signed by.
David Finch, Brian Bendis, and Richard Snowy. I got Joe Quesada, so it's got 4 signatures on it. So
I love it.
Hey, JB, is that water wet, man? I mean, come
on.
So there's that, and then he did the Ultimate X-Men. Which that's when I hopped on Ultimate X-Men for the first time. It was issue 34, also written by Brian Bendis. So that's when I started, because after I got done reading some of the Ultimate Spider-Man, I hopped over to X-Men. I'm like, man, this art it reminded me of the 90s stuff with J. Scott Campbell, basically, and Jim Lee. And I was just like, I could dig this. So I ended up getting their Ultimate X-Men run.
He's kind of all over the map in the early 2000s, actually. Image, Marvel, DC.
Yep. Absolutely he is. So yeah, I mean, he definitely, in my opinion, I'm not the world's biggest Finch fan because I feel like some of his work just looks the same over time. But at the same time, like you can't deny the contribution he had to the 2000s. There's so many big books he worked on with so many great writers, and he definitely did a lot of good. So my number 3, I gotta go Ivan Rice, man. The Green Lantern stuff. I love me some Green Lantern books with Jeff Johns, and it was hard. I almost had to do a coin flip between Ivan Rice and Ethan Van Sciver, but I knew I was going to put one of my Green Lantern artists on here. So I decided to go with Ivan at the end of this, just because he did the bulk of the work on the Sinestro Corps War, which is my favorite part of his run on Green Lantern, Jeff Johns. So once again,
the randomizer.
Yeah, going back to the Jim Lee stuff. And, the comparisons to Jim Lee. I think Ivan Rice is one of those underrated guys who reminds me of his style quite a bit. And the fact that, the reason I would pick Ivan Rice over David Finch personally is I think he draws some really cool alien creatures in that run and stuff. And it he just did great in that. And he also eventually got to work on Aquaman, but that's a different decade.
Well, he did a fair bit of Lady Death work too in the early 2000s. It looks like.
Oh, nice! I didn't even read those, but yeah, I definitely love me some Green. What else did he work on? You get the list up?
Yeah. Cross Gen. He did some Lady Death and Crux. Dark Horse. He did Ghost and Xena Warrior Princess, and then DC. The list is a massive. Very massive.
Yeah.
And Marvel, the Avengers, Vision, Captain Marvel, Defenders, Quicksilver, The Thing, She-Hulk, 2002. It's a impressive resume there.
Nice. Yeah, there's some great stuff he's done. I think once he did that Green Lantern run, he went from like just looking for work artists to just he blew up after that, in my opinion. And also, I think he did. Where is it out on my shelf? He did a lot of the Brightest Day work too. So when they did after the Blackest Night, which he did that as well, he did the Brightest Day. So we got the number 3s down. So we're going to number 2. We're getting to the nitty gritty here.
Yeah,
Andy's number 2, Tim Bradstreet.
You can't talk Punisher without talking Garth Ennis, and you can't talk Garth Ennis and that Max series without bringing up Tim Bradstreet. That artwork just freaking delivers Punisher nitty and gritty and dark and gory and bloody, and I love it. I love Tim Bradstreet's work when it comes to that Punisher Marvel, that Marvel Max series. He did it, and he did it very well. I'm very curious on what you guys think of this because he's got a huge hunk of my heart with that artwork. I could sit here and talk about it for like 20 minutes solid and go on and on and on and bring everything out. But I'm really curious on what you guys have to say about Tim Bradstreet.
You were talking Punisher? Absolutely. I love it. I think I have a Punisher is my number 1 choice, actually. My number 1 slot's going to be a Punisher artist. Yeah, no, you're good to go. That's a solid choice. I'm actually looking at that's too solid. How did I not have him? I'm looking on my list. What the hell?
Yeah, he did some really badass covers on the Punisher run. Of course, Steve Dillon did the art in the books as well. Some point out in the chat, but he also did. I recently picked up some covers from Blade. He did some really cool Blade covers where they did the Wesley Snipes style Blade. But we actually have a guest coming in to the
it's Drew, isn't it?
No.
Merry Christmas,
hey, you know what? Merry Christmas, Chad. Happy holidays to you.
Hey, thanks. I wanted to come on at the end.
At the end.
And do the filibuster thing that Drew does.
This never ends.
The filibuster thing. No Drew tonight? We can't say baby. No, we can't do that.
I wanted to talk about at the end. I'll talk about it. I'll jump in the back because I was going to talk about the game show.
Oh, okay.
Is that okay? I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to listening to you guys and painting my Yodas.
All right.
Yodas. Paint them up.
Chat, everybody.
Yay!
All right. Actually, no, let's use this ad break to go back to the chat real quick because, like I said, there's still more people hopping in here. We got Mr. Gretzky9966. How's it going, man? He's in that chat. We got Bub's Comics. They had a great No Faces chat earlier tonight. I love those guys over there on the No Faces chat.
I love me, Bubs.
Definitely an awesome Monday show there as well. Bub, we need to get you on the Comic Core, man. I saw your message, Bub. Just message us. We'll get you on something sometime, man, for sure. We got, oh, yeah, Comic Head 84. Dig it. Always like seeing Kenny in the chats as well. We got Fu Hong. How's it going, man? We got Stay Puff 1983 is in the chat. Comics and Chaos, I believe, is asking what decades we're covering. We're covering mainly 2000 to 2010, but I keep throwing post-2010 stuff because that's the way my brain's working tonight. Let me get but hey, we love these artists. We got Scott Evans in the chat. How's it going, Scott Evans? And let's see who else we got. I know I missed a couple people, and I want to get to them. Still got Bake the Snake in there. We got Big O's in the chat. What's going on, Big O? What was that, Andy?
Well, let me guess. Next week you want to do 2010 to 2020.
2020?
It's the end of the decade.
End of the decade.
Next week is the end of the decade.
That's true. We could do that. I didn't even thought about it. But screw it. Let's do it. We'll do the next. We'll do this decade next week. How about that? And you'll just close it out. Close out the year. You heard it here first.
It's a hell of a decade.
Right, so we did Andy's number 2. So that means it's number 2, and I love this one as well.
Here we go. Ryan Otley. Come on, folks. Right? I had chosen him for Spider-Man, but now that I'm looking him up, it was more like in the early 2000s. He was on Invincible.
Yes.
Which was, yeah. So, yeah, what do you guys think of Ryan Otley?
Oh, he's phenomenal, man. Like when the whole time I was reading his Invincible run, which it's kind of like the Walking Dead scenario where you have a starting artist, and then you eventually get to like the real series artist somehow, sort of, basically, where I think it was Cory Walker started Invincible, but then Ryan Ottley became the ongoing artist in that. And the whole time I was reading that run, I'm like, man, he'd make a cool Spider-Man artist. And boy, that eventually come to fruition. But
Right.
I think his run on Invincibles was one of the most overslept on runs in all of comics. Like, just not a lot of people talk about Invincible anymore. And it's kind of a shame because that was, back in the day, Robert Kirkman called that his love letter to superhero comics. Obviously, Walking Dead, like, it was his baby and that stuff, but Invincible, it's almost just as good of a book in its own right, in my opinion.
But that number one carries that modern key price tag to it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If you find it in high grade, you're going to pay for it right now.
Yeah.
Sure does. It sure does. But yeah, Ryan Ottley, he really, in my opinion, he really made that book worth revisiting for sure. And his art style is definitely, it's up there. I just couldn't believe, like, how's this guy not working for Marvel or DC? And eventually Marvel's like, yeah, we should probably just hire Ryan Ottley. So luckily they did.
Ooh.
All right. So my number two, I want to get Andy hooked on another read here. So my number two, John Cassaday. And the reason I picked John Cassaday, actually there's several reasons, but the main one for me was Astonishing X-Men. So you talked about New X-Men. That was my favorite run for a long time, and it might still be, but my tie for first, maybe second, is Astonishing X-Men with Joss Whedon and John Cassaday. John Cassaday did every single issue of that run, and every single issue has cover art quality on the inside too. Usually, anymore, your basic comic formula, unfortunately, is you have these beautiful covers that have nothing to do with the interior art, and then you open the book and it's like a completely different book on the inside.
Does somebody just want to put this whole run together for me and sell it to me for a
it's cheap. You can actually get that one pretty cheap, dude. They're all in dollar bins right now.
I'm okay with that. The problem is actually finding them where I live.
Oh, I got you. I can try to piece together a collection for you if you want it. I think Half Price Books literally has all of them. So if I can get into that bag sale, I'll just start loading them up for you. But anyway, like, all of the art in that is cover quality. What you see on the cover actually represents, for the most part, what you're going to see on the inside of this book.
Oh,
not only that, like, that's not even the only thing he did. He had a great Captain America run in 2000 as well.
He's going to go broke.
And, hey, I haven't even mentioned this yet. Planetary. Planetary was an awesome run with him and Warren Ellis.
Yeah.
So he was almost my number one. Almost, until I thought of another guy, but we'll get to that shortly. So you guys got any other thoughts on John Cassaday?
Yeah, I'm going to have to get the
voice, though.
She needs to get the defibrillator for my wallet. It's gonna be a rough end of the year.
Nice.
All right. So that's our number two. So before we dive into our number ones, do you guys have any honorable mentions you want to cover? Or is that just me?
I honestly don't. I honestly don't, because 2000 to 2010 for me was a very blackout decade with comics. I was sticking to my core reads and buying some major keys, and I wasn't really branching out. I wasn't doing a whole lot. I was really quiet with comic books, so I actually had to do some reading and re-educating myself on that decade as well, about some of the stuff that I had forgotten about and some of the stuff that I had.
Mm-hmm.
But I really don't have any backups or honorable mentions. You, JB?
Well, I had my original list. I had J. Scott Campbell on there, but I could not think of anything he did in the 2000s. And then I also had Capullo on there, but I couldn't think of anything he had done in that window. So I don't know. Those would be my honorable mentions if they do apply. I don't know. We'll
All right. So you know what's kind of funny?
Number one.
I realized, first off, we're going to piss some people off. None of us picked Jim Lee for our top five.
Well, it's because half of us, we all had Jim Lee last episode, though.
Yeah.
Last time we did art. I mean, Jim Lee's.
I had him on, and then I pulled him off at the very end. He was my 5, so he should have been my honorable mention, right? Because he was my number 5 that I replaced.
Let's talk about Jim Lee a little bit here.
Yeah.
Jim Lee's artwork really transitioned in this decade to something like. Jim Lee's artwork was definitely collectible and definitely amazing before, but it transitioned to a whole another world in this decade. Jim Lee's artwork became phenomenal in this decade, and he worked and he worked and he worked. And I'm like, there's DC. I'm not a major DC fan like Carson is, and his DC work is outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, Batman Hush definitely launched him into a whole different stratosphere, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
I was showing this because John's Comics
go
with
ahead.
Kids was mentioning Eduardo
Hunter Bullock.
Russo.
Yeah.
And this guy's phenomenal.
That's
So,
on a lot. That's on a lot of top lists for 2000 to 2010 is 100 Bullets. I'm surprised none of us came up with that actually.
Nice. So we can make a whole nother list on this. So here's my honorable mentions. Like I said, I got
honorable mentions, huh?
So here's the people that were so close to being on my list, just for whatever reason I didn't put them on there. Tony Daniel, Frank Quitely, which he was on Andy's list, I believe. Phil Jimenez. I love Infinite Crisis. He did most of the art in that, and The Earth One in that book. Jim Chung, Oliver Coipel. Actually, I think JB, you picked this one, so I won't say it. Brian Hitch. If you guys ever read The Ultimates, which I already put it on the randomizer. Brian Hitch does the art in that, and even in the backgrounds, there's like no filler art. It's all great quality. And then Ethan Van Sciver, like I said, is basically a coin flip between Van Sciver and Ivan Rice for that number 3 spot, and I almost put him on there. So those were my honorable mentions, and there's still more honorable mentions flowing into that chat. We got Comic Head says Steve Dillon. That's another phenomenal pick right there. Bub's Comics says Adam Hughes. Great Legend says J.J. Dillon. Yeah, I think that was more like the commissioner of WCW. But anyway, we're going to get into our number 1 spots here. So, Andy, I really like yours. I'll let you talk about him. Alex Believe.
I don't know how to talk about this besides go out and buy the godforsaken Daredevil run from 2006, 2009 that he's in. I think those are the years. Buy that run and enjoy it. It is phenomenal artwork. It really is. Malev, is that how you pronounce it?
I just pronounce it Malev. I'm not sure.
Malev, or whatever. It's really good. I have not traditionally been the biggest Daredevil fan, but from 2000 on to now, the last 20 years, it's really grown on me. And his work stands out with that whole Warren Ellis run too. Ellis and help me out. That run right there. Those are the 2 runs that stand out for me for Moon Knight.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so that, like I said, Alex Believe. He even did a decent run for a Halo adaptation. It just got delayed forever. But it was a beautiful looking book when it came out because it had Bendis and Alex Believe art working on it. So absolutely love Believe. What do you think about Believe, JB?
I don't understand why I didn't think of any of the artists that you guys got on these lists until afterwards. But I'm solid in my number 1 pick, so I'm ready.
And actually, because I think John was talking about the Brubaker run of that Daredevil, another person we even mentioned was Sean Phillips.
Oh yeah,
another great artist right there. And while we're talking, I think I was gonna bust Chad's balls when he got on at the end of the stream here, but we didn't even mention Derek Robertson either. He's been typing Derek Robertson in the chat the whole night. So
over and over again. Derek Robertson.
Metropolitan. Awesome stuff. All right.
Oh yeah. Holy shit. Yeah.
He's number 1, which this one's a really good one too. Clayton Crane.
Yes. Thank you.
Punisher. Ghost Rider.
Yep. That dark, gritty style that he does.
It was a 2005, 2006 Ghost Rider run, right?
Yep.
That was
that. Oh yeah, that too. Now, if you guys haven't read that X-Force run that he's done with Craig Kyle and Chris Yost writing, which at this point I think those guys are working in Hollywood writing now. He does the art on that. I bought that book because I like this artist named Mike Choi. He was the backup artist. I ended up really growing or getting to know Clayton Crane's art style and really enjoying it on that book. So write that down, Andy. Another phenomenal read.
Which one?
X-Force by it's right after the Messiah Complex wrapped up.
Oh yeah, it's on the list.
Had a lot of great books going.
We should do the Messiah Complex.
Yeah, let's put it on there. The randomizer's getting full tonight.
Whoa, but that's a good one.
It is.
It's got a couple of good keys in there.
All right, so my number one, and this one, like everybody else, I had trouble picking their spots. I had to pick Mike Turner's.
See, I was sad that I didn't think to put him on the list before or add him as an honorable mention. I wasn't going to sit here and redo my list 3 or 4 or 5 times, but I bought so much Michael Turner art when I was a kid for obvious reasons. It was ridiculous. Ridiculous. I could have been a millionaire by now if I didn't buy Michael Turner art when I was a kid.
Yeah, I just assumed you guys were going to have him on your list, so I didn't put him on mine.
Sure. No, I mean, you literally, unfortunately, you got to see pretty much his entire career unfold in the 2000s, from the point where he basically, helped develop Aspen with Peter Steigerwald, kind of got sucked into DC with that Superman Godfall storyline, where he started to even learn about DC Comics. Like, as he was drawing it, he was learning about it. He didn't even know a lot of these characters until he was commissioned by DC to come in and start drawing Superman. And then he got to work on that Supergirl storyline in the Superman Batman arc I was telling you about. The first part of that was Public Enemies with Ed McGuinness. After that wrapped up, they went into the Supergirl storyline and brought in Mike Turner to do the art on that. So that's where they brought back Kara Zor-El basically into the DC Comics fold through Michael Turner. And then everyone else was like, man, these covers are pretty sweet. And of course, that's when they started commissioning for all the cover work. So eventually you got to see him do the Civil War covers and the Identity Crisis covers. And unfortunately, that's probably around the time he was having his big struggles with his bone marrow cancer. And unfortunately, after that, he just couldn't keep up a schedule anymore, doing the full book. And, he got a lot of cover work, but unfortunately, late 2000s, he passed away. So when I think 2000s and, who had the most impact as an artist on the 2000s, I think it's definitely Michael Turner.
Gone too soon.
Sure. Yeah. All right. So that wraps up our top 5 list of artists in the 2000s. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. So without further ado, Derek Robertson's #1 fan, Chad. What's up, Chad? How you doing?
What's going on, guys? How's everybody ready for the holidays?
No. Give me the what's poppin', baby.
Hey, yo, what's poppin'?
All right, there you go.
It's been a long day. It's been a long day. Got a couple quick announcements, and I just wanted to, since you guys are killing it as usual on Monday, I wanted to jump in here and talk about the quiz show that was coming in 2020. And I think somebody on here might be the host, but I got to get a commitment from the DB, baby.
I want to do it. I'm down, man. I'm so excited about this. This is going to be a blast.
This is exciting.
So it is a hybrid between, and because on Friday night nobody could talk, it was insane. and Alec actually asked me to mute everybody. So here it is. It's a 2-man team. You and another individual from the community on a Jeopardy Family Feud style game. So the reason why we have to do Family Feud, if you know, like in Family Feud, they get the topic, they ask the question, they get a chance, and then the other team gets a chance to steal it. Round robin, we're hoping for 16 plus teams, and it gives a person an opportunity like Chris Barrett and we said the Mastodon or somebody like that to come up with a team and go for it. There will be a grand prize. There's going to be prizes throughout, even for runners-up, and a huge, massive trophy that I'm making.
And it's not just covers and keys. Questions are going to be not just about the covers and the keys. The questions are also going to talk about storylines and characters and that type of thing. So,
absolutely. But, I mean, there are going to be like, who drew what artist is known for this picture? And we would show a picture. Or what storyline happened, and we'll show a picture. There'll be a host. There's actually going to be an after show, too, that's going to be hosted by the great legend and Cat Ren figures.
Ooh.
I miss those guys. I got to be there.
And we will be starting I'll be sending out I'm going to be doing a intro video this week, and it'll be probably later in the week that everybody. So, like, the Biggie Shack and Comic Head, the Mega Powers, could actually have a team.
That's the team.
Absolutely. That would be awesome. What's that?
So.
I was just too sweeting those guys because they're
You got to get Brian and Jack then. Simpleman's Comics. They got
there you go.
And we even said like Bueller and
Sam
or Bob
or Bob.
Yeah. So it's for anybody and everybody. So it's just to have a good time. Tons of prizes. I had a bad event that happened today, which means I have to get rid of a bunch of comics. Two people per team,
but maybe we were thinking, because maybe it's a 3 but 2 play kind of thing.
Yeah, because there's only 6 people allowed in the stream.
In the stream, so only 2 can play. Figure 2 in the host. So
we Faces chat team with Bub's Comics and DS. He's asking about teams.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
So it's 2 per team, and we have up to 36 is the limit. And get in touch with us, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. And see who wants to play. There's gonna be good prizes.
Do we have like specific nights for this or times yet?
Well, it's going to be 10 o'clock Eastern because that works a lot both for East Coast and West Coast.
Yeah.
But we don't know the night yet.
Yeah, the normal Comic Core time slot. Just we haven't figured out which night of the week yet.
So that's it, guys. That's all I wanted to tell you.
Good stuff.
And then
that's definitely cool for next year.
Oh, I got something cool to show you guys.
Yeah. Kick out that Mandalorian Baby Yoda combo.
Oh, how'd you know?
That's awesome.
Because Chad,
you can't make these things fast enough, can you?
I'm subbed to you guys on IG, and you shared
there it is
today. So
there it is.
It's not subbed to the Comic Core one, or
they're not baby Yodas. They're baby lizard people because I don't want to get hit with a car.
Lizard.
Yeah,
true. That does look more like a lizard.
And then here's the baby Yoda.
Lizard people.
Lizard.
Baby
wow.
lizard person. That looks pretty cool,
dude.
That's pretty sweet, man.
And then here's John's.
You're painting them up right now. That's cool.
Why is it smaller?
What's that?
Why is his smaller?
Oh, I print it because these take 7 hours to print.
It's a baby Yoda.
This one took 30 hours to print.
Wow.
John means us to you then, huh?
Dude, I don't have 30 hours.
He doesn't have 30 hours left.
John's gonna pay by the hour.
Yeah, there you $10 an hour. That's $300.
What's Bub's talking about? How much do we pay to win? You buy every book in my pop-up shop? Well, you can buy every book in the pop-up shop anyway. It wouldn't cost you. Think about this. There's 10 rounds of $1 books. It's $120 to buy the whole show.
The thing is, the other night, me, Legend, and Pat were getting these questions and writing them up. And we were just doing, now none of us are going to be on the show, like Kat and myself and Legend. But we were talking and we were taking them, and these are really, really hard questions. I mean, they were super hard. And I think there's some easy ones, and then there's some ones that'll trick you up. So it's gonna be fun.
All right.
Nice. I can't wait for that, man. We're supposed to come up with questions and stuff. I might have to find after the holidays are over. I'll start churning out some questions.
Well, guys, with that being said, happy holidays. I hope to see everybody soon.
Cool.
All right.
Happy
Thanks a lot for that update, Chad.
Thanks.
I'll talk to you. All right. So you guys know what time of the show it is. It's at the end of the show. We want to thank everybody. We still have like 32 people watching. Thank you guys so much. That's awesome. It's time for that randomizer. So
randomizer.
Getting those picks in the chat now. Let me get the screen share going here. And yeah, we got some stuff to put on here.
Let's get some Christmas spirit going.
All right. So here's what I got so far. Saga Volume 3. We're gonna keep going maybe here. I threw these two on last week. We're going on again this week. Kingdom Come, Mark Waid, Alex Ross Goodman. Infinite Crisis. I really want to read Infinite Crisis again. I don't care who else does or doesn't. Ultimates, Volume 1. I talked about Brian Hitch earlier. Brian K. Vaughan's Paper Girls. Chew number 1, or I'm sorry, volume 1, Mr. Miracle 1 through 6, Tom King. How about that? I figure we could split that up into 2 if we decide to go after that one. Injustice was suggested previously, priced like Injustice volume 1, issues 1 through 6, what have you. Death of Superman, I'll put that up there for Big E Shack. Basically, we just read probably the Doomsday arc leading into Superman 75.
Cool.
Superman, Batman, Public Enemies. That's a 6-issue stint with Jeff Loeb writing, Ed McGuinness on the art. And then Messiah Complex. That'd be a bit of a beefy one, but I think we could handle it on there. I'm definitely putting John's suggestion of Fables. I really want to read some Fables. I've never read Fables. So we're going to go Fables Volume 1.
Do we want to do Volume 1 of Walking Dead as well still?
Yeah, we'll do that. I'm putting Marvels in because we've got to read some Alex Ross eventually on here. Walking Dead. I'm just going to type in Walking Dead. Now represent the first trade.
Yep.
I like the monstrous pick. We're going to put that in.
Yep.
Comics for Thomas has Annihilation.
Okay. We'll say I think like the first one was like 6 issues if I remember right.
Ooh, 7-2 and 30 is 7-2 and 30 on there?
It can be. That's a good one too. I think I actually do have that trade.
That's from Comics for Thomas as well.
Excellent. All right, let's see. Legend says ball sack. I'll have to see what he means by that. I'm going to put Power of Shazam hardcover on there though.
Ooh.
Wow. My goodness.
See what he did there? He just diverted that right into something.
Yeah, that was good. That was
East
good.
and West. I like that, bub.
Nice.
Some Jonathan Hickman on there. We have to read the hardcover, though. Legend says specifically the hardcover. We'll read it somehow, I promise you guys. And I think there was one I missed, I know. Yeah, Chris Barrett has an interesting Spawn volume. Do you guys want to read Spawn?
I've never read Spawn. I'll read it. Let's read it.
Planetary. I think it was Battle of the Atom, which I think is a X-Men miniseries.
Biggie says put the Bible on there for Xmas.
Who that has? Oh, thank you, Who that for reminding me. I meant to put that on this week.
Oh yeah, I've never read any
That is a phenomenal.
TMNT. Yeah, none at all.
I will read that. Thank you, Who that. That's a great pick. All right, so I think we're going to cut it off there. We got a lot of picks in this randomizer.
So are we going to make this? Are we going to make this a weekly thing? Is it's just one click, right?
Just one click. That's all we need.
All right, baby.
We don't have time for 2 clicks or 7 clicks like that one time. Even though I'm glad that happened because JB's reading a bunch of books now because of that 7 clicks. But we're going to hit it once, and we're okay. Enough of this. Planetary wins. All right. So we got some Warren Ellis, some John Cassaday Planetary. It's one I've been wanting to revisit for quite a while. So we're going to go ahead and read Planetary next week.
Planetary it is.
Another classic read. So look out next week for Planetary. So big thanks. I believe that was a Mr. Gretzky 9966 pick. If I'm not mistaken, then yep, there it is in the chat right there.
Very nice.
Planetary.
Very nice.
So look out next week. So next week on the show, we got that coming up. Plus, we're just going to say screw it. We're going to do our top 5 artists 2010 through basically 2019. We're just going to conclude the decade.
Which is good. Yeah, that one's going to be fun because this is like all the stuff that just came out.
Yep. And I think in January, we're going to have to do the same thing for the writers.
All right.
So we'll start putting together our list for that as well. But anyway, that concludes the show. So we'll go into some final thoughts and where we can find you guys here. So we'll start with you, JB. Where can people find Discovery Bay Comics?
Well, let's see. Coming up, what am I got going on? I think I'm going to take some time off actually for the holiday.
Nice.
I think tomorrow and Wednesday will probably be off, not doing anything. But I got something exciting happening on Saturday. I don't know if you guys know, I've been doing this comic book pop-up shop show.
Yeah.
And every time I do it on Saturday, right after John's Comics with Kids, it's just a huge hit. Well, I've had lots of people reach out to me and ask me if they can be on the show as a guest seller. And I said, you know what? Let's do a community comic book pop-up shop show the first Saturday after Christmas. As soon as John's Comics with Kids is done, I'll have guest sellers on, and we'll just make it a marathon.
Ooh.
And we'll roll it all the way up until Thorough or BLC starts at 4:00. So, that's going to go from, I don't know, John goes on at 8 in the morning. So somewhere like at 9 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, pop in the channel because we're going to be going community marathon pop-up shop. And I'm looking for more guest sellers. We're going to slot you into some windows. You get an hour or an hour and a half each block so we can get a bunch of people in. And that's what I'm trying to roll this weekend.
That's cool.
Check it out.
Nice idea, man. Yeah, if you guys want some cheap books that are some great quality reads, definitely check out JB's pop-up shop, and you can get yourself some really good deals. Trust me, they're good deals.
Yeah, good stuff.
What about you, Andy? Where can people find Comic Man Andy?
Well, we've got that Pinkies Out podcast that we're working on. We're definitely on a break for the holidays. The link is below. There's 4 episodes down there with about 2 hours of episodes, 2 hours per episode if you guys want to listen. It's just about beer and going pinkies out and having good times with friends. You guys can find me on my own channel. I haven't done much on there in a while, which means tomorrow morning, if things go well, I'm going to grab me a nice big mug of coffee, and I'm going to come down here, and I'm just going to hit the go live button. And
nice.
I've got a couple of PC pickups for that I wouldn't mind sharing. And I've got a couple of unboxing things here. And I got a big old Secret Santa.
Ooh.
So I got a couple of things that I'm sitting here waiting to open that I really want to do. And it's just like, let me wait and relish the moment with the crew and the family,
We got to figure out a way to do a Secret Santa in this community.
So there is a website called Elfster that Simpleman's Comics found. That's what my Secret Santa gift is from Simpleman's Comics family. Nice. Where I get the Bolo box from, and with
Brian, the Bolo box was fire, bro.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
That's what I'm opening tomorrow is my Secret Santa gift, and my Secret Santa ended up being Brian from Simpleman's Comics. So I'm kind of excited to see what this is going to be tomorrow.
Cool.
Nice. Yep. Actually, this week will mark my return to the Friday A show on the Comic Core. So they want to call it Off the Rails. I just call it the A show, man. I can't wait. But I'll be making my triumphant return with the mute button, trying to get one conversation going instead of 5. I got to bust those guys' balls because I've been on for 3 weeks. But I'll be back this Friday on the Comic Core, and I can't wait. I got an unboxing to do. They sent me a gift, so I got to unpackage it on there. So big thanks to those guys on the Comic Core Friday show. Can't wait.
I think I got something too, actually.
Nice.
I have to pop in on the show on Friday.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, man, I am the one out. Oh, boy.
Now, I got to send Andy a whole stack of Astonishing X-Men now. Dang it. All right. Well, with all that being said, thank you, everybody, so much for joining us in the chat, on the Facebook side, and all that good stuff. And until next time, actually, JB, you want to leave? You're the only one here with an exit line. You want to give the exit line?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact,
go ahead, man.
And don't forget, we had a good time. Thanks, everybody.